Hello and welcome everyone. I think we're going to be starting pretty soon here. We may give everyone a couple minutes to get on. And we're going to start presenting the new training of TPMS Transit. Okay, so I think we've given everybody a chance to get on. I think we're going to start the training now. So Jen is going to show off the new client for Transit. So this is the new system going forward. This is what Transit will look like from here on out. And for those of you who were beta testers, this should look fairly familiar. It is what we have tested for the last week or so now. So Jen, if you're ready, you can take it away.
Brandy, this is Sri. Is it possible to record this session so folks that couldn't attend can listen to it later?
Yes, ma'am. We are recording this right now.
Great, thank you.
Brandy, I think we should probably start with the user registration piece. Do you think?
Oh, yes, Bob. I think Bob's correct. So I think we will start with the user registration. I forgot that piece. So Bob, if you want to speak to that, maybe show your screen.
Yeah, sure. Do you see my screen?
I do.
Okay. So my name is Bob Gray. I'm a developer at the Service Bureau, work with Brandy and Jen. They've done most of the work on the new version of Transit. Primarily my piece has been dealing with user registration. So I'm just going to real quickly walk through that, show you a document that's got some of the same information, and then sometime today or soon you can go ahead and step to this process to get registered as a TPMS user to access the new version of Transit. What you're looking at here, you may have already seen if you have a bookmark or a shortcut to the legacy transit system, the previous system. This is what you'll see when you go to that URL of the old system. Just letting you know that we got a new version up and running, and you should update your shortcut to just to the www.tpms.org, and the transit is part of the broader TPMS system. So the transit pieces are in that main URL there alongside of the highway pieces to TPMS. The first time you come to the new transit, you'll need to register as a TPMS user. There's if you click on the link here, this is a lot of the same information that's on that screen, but it does have some screenshots. If you are currently logged in to Transit into the legacy system, that's a cookie, and we can see that you are logged in there. So when you come to www.tpms.org, you should see a screen like this. It's going to ask you your first name, last name, and email. And when you click send account setup email, you'll send you an email, and that email's got a link to go ahead and set up an account for TPMS. If you don't see the email after you've submitted this form, it's possible it went into your junk folder or spam folder. If you don't see the screen, what that means is you probably do not have the cookie. You weren't logged into the legacy system. So, but if you know the login and PIN code from the legacy system, you still can register without contacting the Service Bureau. So you can still complete self-registration by just clicking the link here that says register with transit PIN code, enter in the login and PIN code that you would use to get into the legacy system, the previous system, and that'll get you to this screen here to fill out your first name, last name, email, and get the email to get registered. Should be a pretty quick and simple system or process to get set up. Should only take a couple of minutes, and like I said, it's for most of you. Hopefully this is a self-registration. You don't even have to contact us to get that done, but if you do run into trouble, certainly can contact myself. That's Bob, B-O-B, at ICEASB.org. Or you can click on the link here. We'll get you to support at ICEASB.org. That's fine as well, and we can get you set up. If you have already got signed up as a user, like maybe you were a beta tester, or maybe you come in here and do this today and then you log out, and you come back and you get to this screen because you have that cookie, it shouldn't happen, but it's, if it happens to where you get to here, you can click on go to login here to just log in to the system, and bypass this registration. So that'd be just one piece of advice or caution is, you don't have to register more than once. So if you've registered as a user, you want to get to log in and log in. Yep, and then again, the URL here you should have, because this is the same as the old system, tpms.org/transit. We get you to this screen here that has that information, has a link to the document we just looked at, kind of explains it all. So, and then you can click go to TPMS, and that'll get you out here to TPMS. And I think this is a good spot to hand it over to Jen to show you how the new system works. Unless there's any questions, I take a question on user registration if anyone's got one.
If we have a new user, how do we get them registered?
Sure. So as long as they've got that login and PIN code, which in the old system is by organization, If you're talking about registering a new user today, they would just put in login PIN code and go through this self-registration part. In the future, each organization can have an administrator, which will have access to this users menu here. Since I'm a system administrator, I've got access to all organizations. But for users who are administrators of transit agencies such as yourselves, you can come in here and add new people. And so by default, you're not going to have administrators set up for your organizations, but we can certainly give that role to folks at the different transit agencies that would be appropriate to be user administrators. So there is a user management at the organization level that can be given to some of your folks, or they can contact us. I don't know if that answers the question, but.
Yeah, that works. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, if there's no other questions about user registration, then Jen, you can go ahead and take it from here.
All right, hi everybody, I'm Jen. As Bob said, I'm one of the developers for Transit here. So I will go ahead and kind of walk through the website here for Transit. And if you guys have any questions along the way, please feel free to stop me, and we can go over anything that's confusing, anything you have questions about. I'll try to go slow enough here so that you can follow me. If I'm going too fast, let me know. So I'm going to be showing you Transit in our test environment, just so I don't wreck anybody's progress on anything. But when we come in here, you'll see the TPMS sections on the upper left side here. Transit is selected right now, but just want to make sure you get into the right list here.
Jen, I'm not seeing your screen. I don't know if anyone else is.
I'm not either.
Oh. How about now?
There you go. Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, sorry, it showed that I was showing it. Okay, so we'll start over here. On the top left section of the screen are the different parts of TPMS, so CFYP, budget, STIP, lettings, and then we also have Transit. This is obviously where you'll want to be working. So once you select that Transit tab, you'll see this list of years, and all of these numbers represent the different stages of the projects. So how many projects are in prep, submitted, TIP approved, etc. You can filter down that list by sponsor type and sponsor using these drop downs at the top. We'll go a little bit into how the list works with the actual Transit projects. But for now, you can use this list here to open up a Transit year. So I'll go ahead and select 2023, which will open up Transit in its own tab, 2023 Transit over here on the right. We can collapse down the left side to give us more room. So just using this collapse button, click it and it'll shove it over so that we get the full screen for Transit. When we first come into a year, there's a drop down at the top to change the year if you want to. So you don't really have to go back to the left list. If you don't want to, you can just view a different year inside of here. You also see the list of projects for this year on the left side, as well as a welcome screen on the right. At the top in the Transit heading here, the yellow bar, there is a print button, so you can print the entire Transit. That's over here. Otherwise, we can go through this list. You can see the ID, the sponsor, sponsor type, approval level, and the description of the project, but you can change these options. So to change this list around how you want to see it, you can come over to the blue menu right in the top corner here. If you click that, you have some options for different columns. And that list contains all of these different columns that you can see. So if you want to see vehicle information, inventory information, funding, any notes from the PA, DOT, FTA, really anything that's related to the project, you can turn those on just by clicking them. Anything checked will then show up in the list after you hit apply. So I turned on version, and now version showing up here. I'll also show you guys how to filter down this list. So if you go back to the menu, click on filters, you get this menu here for filtering. So all you need to do is choose what field you want to filter by. So if we want approval level, let's say we want to see all of the FTA approved projects. Then we can say approval level is FTA approved, add filter. It's now checked here, hit apply, and then it filters down that list for all FTA approved projects. I unfortunately don't have any, so maybe that's a bad example. But we can go back over here, choose filters, like, okay, that filter wasn't what I wanted. We can uncheck that, and then we can try again for all in-prep projects. So now all of these projects here are going to be in prep. Okay, I think that's, you can also save the list as CSV or print it for a PDF. So those options you'll have to in this list. The other thing you can do here is save reports. So if you like how this list is set up, maybe there's another view that is also helpful. You can save this as a report and then come in and switch between the reports. You can also make a schedule to email yourself as well as anybody else for any of these projects that you might want to see, you know, any that have been updated. You can set those up as well. I think that's everything for the list. If I'm forgetting anything, Bob or Brandy,
Do you want to show the expandable years for funding in the list?
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
So for funding, we're going to turn on these funding columns. I'm going to get rid of a couple just so we can see it better. But if we turn on some funding, so we want to see DOT funding, FA, FTA, FHWA, local, special. And we'll turn on years as well. So if funding is in multiple years, we can see that. So I'll apply that. So any of these projects that have multiple years of funding can be expanded in the list so that you can see them. So like this one has 3 years, you can click on that years cell here, and it will open up all of the years of funding that that project has. So you can see it broken down by year instead of just the total per funding. You can also go up to the years column at the top, click the little menu button, and you can expand all of the funding or collapse all of it. So if I expand, it'll expand all of those projects that have multiple years of funding. So when you scroll down the list, you can actually see all of those expanded.
Jen, you also talked about filtering from the menu in the upper right. Maybe we want to show each column's got a menu, and then also maybe like right click, context menu filtering.
Yep. So for years here, if we want to see just 2025 projects, we can click this menu at the top for years and go to filters there. This will open up the same way we had, but it will pre-fill your field. So we were talking about years, we'll keep years, type in maybe 2025, add filter, and we can leave in prep checked, hit apply, and that will filter down all of the 2025 projects. The other way we can do that is if you just right click inside of here. So right here, we can right click and you can say years is 2025, years is not 2025, or you can open up that filter menu again by clicking filters. So that's just kind of a shortcut. Let me, if I go to the, what's that?
One thing to keep in mind on the years too is it is a list of years, so it contains, you know, is probably what you want if you're trying to get a specific year, because those projects have funding in multiple years. So just important to know what your, you know, columns are, whereas because if it's a list of years, so years is 2025 would not include multi-year projects that had 2025. You'd want to use contains.
Yeah, that's true. So years contains 2025 is going to include all of those that had 2025 as well as other years, whereas the filter I put on excludes those. So if I take off years is 2025 and hit apply, we'll now see those that have multiple years in them.
Jen, you also want to just take a quick look at the exceeds funding column. This would be important for public transit so that they can filter for these and look at them.
Guidance.
Exceeds guidance, yeah, sorry.
Okay. Let me take off a couple of these. Okay, so the exceeds guidance column is right here at the edge. Here we go. Here are a couple. If it does exceed guidance, you're going to get this icon here, this warning. So you'll be able to see kind of in the list which ones exceed that. Anything else for this list?
You can try printing or getting a CSV off of this list if you'd like.
Well, I did show them that, but I suppose we can wait. So once you click that, you'll get a new dialog up here. This will be downloaded. So depending how your settings are for your computer, you might not see it down here, but it will go into your downloads. We can open that up, and then we'll get the columns that we had shown and then all that data. And that'll be the same if you want to print that, then you get page options here. So this is something to note. You can change your page orientation from portrait to landscape. You can also change the text size, small, medium, large, and also your page size. So, you know, if you have a bunch of columns in this grid, you might have some issues getting that to show up when you print it. So these settings will help you fit that better. So we'll hit submit here. And then this is your PDF, and then you can print it or save it from here. Okay, anything
So,
else?
yeah, Sherry asked a question about can the unit number and replacement or expansion definitions be added to the description when you print the tip? And I guess, Sherry, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
So I just hit the print in the upper right on the yellow bar. And when I hit the print, so the unit number is the bus number. So if it's like a description of a heavy duty 40-foot bus that's being replaced by unit 504, unit 504 wasn't showing up in the print version that I did, and it wasn't.
Oh, so the
project.
replacement isn't in the, okay. I think I could add that. If it is a replacement, to pull in the description of the vehicle that's being replaced.
Right. Yeah, I was just comparing 2023 tip that our MPO imported into our document, and then what was generated if I printed it in the new TPMS process to see what the differences were.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can look at doing that. We can.
Because if FTA went in to look at that, they'll look for the specific unit number of vehicle that we're replacing. That's important.
Gotcha.
For them
Sure.
to see.
And Brandy, I need that too at the DOT level to run our PTMS list, which is our prioritization process. So we need the exact bus number to know if it's up for replacement or not.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, we can put that in the official print, I think.
Thank you.
Jen, can you show them how to remove a project?
Yeah, we can talk about that in the details here. So let's go ahead and open up one of these projects. We can view all of the information about the project here, as well as take actions on that project. So this remove button is how you're gonna get that project out. Not everybody will have access to do this. You'll need the right roles. So if that's something you need to do and you could not, like Bob said before, the administrator of your organization can do that, or we can help you with that. But on the project details, we're going to remove them. You can edit the project. You can also submit it for approval. And then you can also get a PDF of the whole project if you want to print or save it.
There's also a couple of business rules around removing it. So you can't remove a project that is being revised. You also cannot remove a project that is not in prep.
Okay, so let's go down this project here and look at the section. So the first thing here are the notes. I am logged in right now with FTA roles, so I'm able to add an FTA note, but that's not always the case. If you're a sponsor, you can add a sponsor note, PAs can add PA notes, and DOT can add DOT notes. So those do all stay separated. You can see who added them. If there were any notes on the project here, you would also be able to see them here. The next section is the details of the project. This is going to be just your approval level, the ID, version, type of project, and a description. You can also see the contacts over here. So who is the planning agency, who is the sponsor. Brandy, do you want to restate when the project can't be removed?
Yes. So when a project is being revised, so there's an original and then there's a revision that's being worked on, the original cannot be removed. When a project is beyond in prep, it cannot be removed. So it has to be reverted back to in prep before it can be removed.
Okay. The next section on the project is the funding. So you'll be able to see what the funding source is, all of the funding years, and then that is totaled for you as well. Below that is the program section. So this is going to tell you what other transit programs this project has been in. These are selectable, so you can choose one and go to that transit program and see it. And then at the bottom is going to be the log. So this is going to show you any changes that have been made in this project. Since we've just rolled this out, a lot of these aren't going to have a log just because we weren't tracking everything before. But going forward, this log will be filled up with any edits made or when it was submitted or approved.
So, question from Lisa Lesser about the unit ID shown in the details. We had conversations about a unit ID for a new project, so you're adding a record to the system, and we were told that you wouldn't know the unit ID or the VIN number for a couple of years when you're creating a record for a vehicle. So we've not included it on these records. It is in the data for the fleet. So if you choose, to replace a vehicle and you choose that vehicle in the fleet, that will have the unit ID and the VIN number for that vehicle, and it will be shown in the details, I believe.
Sherry, to answer your question about only your information, because I'm logged in as FTA, I can see everybody's, but if you are logged in as SciRide, for example, then you will only see SciRide's projects. Those will be filtered by default. You are able to see others if you want to, but it should already be filtered down to your own projects.
I can see everybody today.
Yeah, I can too.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, it's confusing.
Yeah, that's a bug. I will look into it after this meeting and fix it. To filter those down right now, you can go to your filters menu and choose sponsor.
I just did a search and did Ames Transit Agency for me. So.
Okay. Yeah, the search will work. The filters will make sure that you only see yours. So for city bus, you can choose whatever you are. But that should have been filtered for you. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So the next thing I can show you is how to add a project. We can go through the forum. It's going to be the same if you edit it, but we'll start with a new one. Generally, you won't choose sponsor if you are the sponsor, but otherwise you can come in, you can choose your sponsor. You'll want to choose your project information, so the type and subtype. If it's capital, those will have subtypes on them. So you'll want to choose the correct one there. You can add a description and also choose your planning agency. These agencies will be filtered down to what makes sense. So you won't get all of the options, just the ones that make sense to your project. The next section is if it's a vehicle or not. If it is a vehicle, you'll want to check the vehicle checkbox saying yes, it's a vehicle. After that, you can go into your inventory and choose a vehicle from there. So if you're replacing it, you can choose that. You just select one and hit submit. It will show you the one that you selected. You can also remove that vehicle. Choose the type. And then any options that you need added. And then it will give you your funding guidance down here in this table that you can see. And based on the types you add, that will show up here too. So if you have your video surveillance, that will show up. The next section here is your funding. So you'll add your funding year, the type, the program, and then the amount. If you need another line of funding, you just click this add funding button. It'll give you another line that you can fill out, and you can add as many of these as you need. And then when you're all done, you just hit submit here, and then you'll be able to view the details of that project. Right, does anybody have any questions on filling out the form? Okay. The last button up here is importing a project. So if you have a project that's in a different program, you need in this one, just click import project. You can choose the program that you need to choose from, and then choose that project. Once you choose it, it will open up into the same form we just went through, and it'll fill in anything that it can. So you just go through and fill out the rest. And I think that's kind of the basics of going through transit. If you guys have any specific questions, then we can look at that as well.
This is Shirley. My IDs don't seem to be my vehicle numbers.
Are you talking about this ID in the list?
Yes.
So that's going to be your project ID. I think vehicle ID is separate. Is that right, Brandy?
Inventory vehicle unit number would be the inventory vehicles that were chosen.
Okay, so I just need to filter. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That will be just for ones that an inventory vehicle selected for the project.
Yes. So if that's only applicable for ones that have inventory vehicles on them.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, the import project is a new feature to transit. The prior system didn't have that, so it was kind of a pain in the butt to try and pull projects forward. So it should be a lot easier now.
I think, Jen, I went out and looked. It looks like we have a problem with the sponsor type drop downs in the year list. Maybe that's what the filtering of a particular sponsor within a given transit year is from.
Okay.
But maybe I think it might be helpful to clarify when you click on a year in the transit list, there's options at the top as far as what sponsors you are looking at. So right now it's set to all sponsors. So you got 418 projects. So when you click on that row, it's going to show 418 projects, in the list, in transit itself with the project list. So it is driving that list as far as opening the year, but that list is filterable on its own. So if you are in that list of projects and trying to filter for projects and you only want to see yours, you want to make sure you see sponsor is you in that list. So for the most part, when we get the business with the sponsor types and sponsors, I think that's where the problem's coming in. When we get that worked out, when you click on a year, it's going to filter this list of projects by you and you only see yours. But then when you start working with those filters, you want to see that there. Hopefully that's a little clearer how that works, but seeing only your projects here is driven by filters.
Jen, can you go through again how to add that inventory vehicle unit number to the list?
So to add any column, you'll go to the menu on the list, the blue button in the right corner. Click on columns, and then you just scroll down and find the ones you want to add. I chose inventory vehicle unit number, but there's also the VIN and description for the inventory vehicle. So I just checked that on and then clicked apply. And that vehicle shows up. You can also reorder these columns. So if you go back to the columns menu and you want inventory vehicle unit number to be first, you can just drag it up. So now it'll be over here in front of that approval level.
I am trying to do what you're talking about and sorted. I added the inventory ID number and VIN, but all of those columns are blank for my buses.
Yep, so as Brandy said earlier, those are only going to show up if there's an inventory vehicle selected on that project. So if you open up that project, it's likely that there's no inventory vehicle on it. So in that case, you'd have to edit that project and choose one.
So our previous information with our unit numbers are not in the system, then we have to figure out which ones are which?
Well, I could take a look at we still have the old legacy data. Maybe there was a problem with our migration into the new system. So I could take a look and see if there's possibly some place where I missed that connection. So I can get back to you by tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, this is Cheryl. I'd appreciate that, yeah, because I'm gonna have to guess which ones are my vehicles then.
Mm-hmm.
Shelley, I think you can probably just go to your old MPO, like tip, and just go line by line to at least like see what the differences are. That's a lot of what I did.
You're right, I could. I just thought they would have been,
Right,
you know.
they should be updated, but that's one way to look at your 22 data and look at how it is in the TPMS now, to see if there's any differences or any discrepancies.
Right,
That's where I
right,
would start.
right. Well, right now, we're gonna have to add the vehicle numbers in there anyway from the old TPMS, so.
Well, hopefully that's something they can rectify.
All right, are you guys seeing anything else you want to talk about, or any other issues you're running into when you're looking at it here?
How did you get the inventory vehicle on the left-hand side of the pink line?
Yeah, so if you go back to the columns menu in the list,
Yeah.
you can drag any of those up and down to rearrange the order.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep. And definitely as you guys are going through this and using it or looking at it, let us know if there's anything else you're coming across. You know, we tested this as best we could, but it's easy to miss stuff when you look at it all day, every day.
Jen, I was wondering if this is free. So I'm wondering if once this training is done and folks have had a chance to kind of work in the system, if maybe a couple of weeks from now we can set up a FAQ type of call, just so folks can bring in, you know, their questions and
yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, I think that would be helpful.
Okay, Brandy can probably coordinate that with you too.
Okay. And then another quick question. So when you decide on what fields you want to display by using that drop down.
Yeah,
So whatever is displayed then, if I hit the print button, will all those fields then be in the report that I generate?
I believe so. Is that right, Brandy?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
But that's the print on the list, not the print on the in the top header. Is
Right.
that Randy?
The print on the
Right,
print at the
different.
very top is a standardized form or a standardized PDF. It doesn't change depending on what you have in your columns. So if you want to see specific columns and you want to use that list menu and click print there.
Oh, okay. Good to know. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
And how about the Excel download? Would that be, whatever columns we choose also, the CSV? That would be whatever columns we have displayed?
Yes.
That
that's
is
right.
correct. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
It's also the same filters and search that you have on the list, but it will be all records. So you notice at the bottom of the list there's paging. It's like 1 through 50 of 151 right now. If you export a CSV, it would be all 151 of those rows.
Okay,
If that makes sense. So it does take into account filtering and searching, but it as far as paging is concerned, you'll get all the rows in the print or the PDF.
sure. Okay.
Yeah, and as for the instruction manual, we do have help content, which you can find up here in the top right corner, right next to your name. There's help. You can click on that and it will open up all of the help content that we've written up for you guys. So Brandy, we have transit specific help in there or no?
We do, but this is the test environment, so it's not in there. In the
Okay,
production,
that's
we
what
do have it.
So normally in production, you'll be able to see transit here and you can look through that as well. Change this.
I don't think you can.
It currently is in production. So if you go to tpms.org/transit or tpms.org, you'll see it there.
Okay.
Brandy, you want to answer the question about the federal aid?
So if you're entering, if your amount of FTA funds plus your FHWA funds exceeds the maximum amount of federal aid in the guidance, it will give a warning that you've exceeded guidance. So it's two-pronged. It's both the maximum amount total and the maximum percent. If you cross either one of those, you'll get a warning.
Sounds like that's a particular project. Maybe we should open
Yeah.
it up. and look.
Do you have a project ID for us to look at? This is in production, I'm guessing. www.tpms.org. So if you go to, oh, you can't edit. Jen, you're going to impersonate Southern Iowa Trolley or probably that. I would do Southern Iowa. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, here it is.
Okay, so go to edit that. And then so 81,600 is the maximum federal aid. Also, but 85% is the maximum federal aid percent. So I need to do the math on what that 81,600 of 93,840 is. Let's make a calculator here. (86.9%), and that's why you're getting a funding exceeds guidance. Right, but the federal aid is the percentage of the entire project, not just the federal aid.
Maybe that's something for Sri to address. I mean, that's a business.
Yeah, I mean, how do Sri? Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to do my calculation. So the total bus cost is 91,000.
93,840.
840. I can barely read. Okay, 91,840.
93,840.
93,840. So 85% of that, 79,764. That doesn't sound right. Lisa, why don't we figure this out offline? Is that okay with you? Here. Okay, let's see. 83,840. 0.85. So I'm getting 79,764 to be the federal portion.
Okay. Okay, is there any other questions? If not, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up for today. We will have another training session tomorrow. At least Sri sent out that email to everybody. So if you want to jump back on tomorrow and look at it again, you feel free. I think today we're going to say goodbye.
To be clear, tomorrow's we're going to just cover the same stuff basically, aside from questions, right? I mean,
yes, it'll be the same stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Randy and Bob, thank you.